But
And I learned how to fix my own tire.
I think the topic of healing healers is something that people don't really talk about a lot. And I love the way that you approach it. So I'd love if you kind of start by just giving me a quick background as far as like your perspective on it, kind of how you got into that and really recognizing that that's a thing that we really have to focus on.
Sure. So, for your listeners, I am a dentist based in New York, and I had two losses very quickly. I had my brother, my younger and only sibling, who passed away due to oral cancer back in 21. And, you don't expect your sibling to outlive you, especially a younger. And I had, and this was in 2021. I've lived in different parts of the world, so I didn't have this village community of, protecting me like friends and family. And with COVID, there was a lot of isolation to begin with, and having to go back to practice was a little challenging to, uh, you know, as healthcare providers, we're always putting ourselves on hold. Sometimes, we overwork, we'll skip a meal, we'll not go to the bathroom because we've got to take care of a patient. And then suddenly I lost my dad in November last year. And it was very sudden. And same thing, I had to do a sudden trip, do a funeral, and take a week off for the funeral arrangement, and then back to work on Monday, be fully present to what I'm doing. And there is a process with grief. And if I've found in my journey that it doesn't need to be traveled alone. And that's where my concept of healing the healers, it's kind of the concept same of when the tow truck breaks down, who tows the tow truck, who heals the healers. And for somebody who's gone through this path, knowing what it takes to still come out, because we've still got roles to play in life, and time doesn't stop when you've lost somebody. Life keeps going. So that's where it
Yeah,
stemmed from.
I love that. And I want to start by just thanking you for sharing that with us and give you some honor there because it's not an easy thing to deal with, right? Loss and grief are really difficult things and there's no right answer, right? And time doesn't really necessarily heal it. It's always a pain that you're going to feel. But, I think in doing what you're doing and using it as a force for now inspiring other people and not sitting there just staying stuck in the grief, but kind of using that to maybe jump you or boost you into the positive side. And hey, how can we use this for good, not just for the bad part, but what good can come from this? Do you think that's an important part of
Yeah.
really working your way forward?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be stuck. You don't want to be stuck in the element of grief. You don't want to be hurting constantly and reliving those emotions of loss and sadness, and because there's good things to look forward to. And you're right. Time doesn't erase it. It's there, it's omnipresent. Holidays, special occasions will bring that back, the what ifs, could ifs, should ifs. And, you pause, reflect, you give it that time, you give yourself that time, but you still kind of have to move. It's like this unseen scar, in your heart, and once in a while it'll ache, and it's there, and you acknowledge it. It's because you loved. It's because you cared. It's because you had something special, someone special, and that's always going to be a part of who you are. But it gives you a renewed purpose of helping others, because there's two ways to channel or any difficulty you have. Like, let's say you have a flat tire, right? Either you can stay in that emotion of being stuck and deal with depression and anxiety, and just dwell in those and just like, oh my god, woe is me, I'm stuck. Or you can, call for help. You call your friend, your parent, your 911, AAA, whatever, somebody, like, hey, get me unstuck. Or you're like, you know what?
Right.
I'm going to learn how to fix my own tire. And you find the resources and you lift up the tire, get the jack out and fix it yourself. Right. So you have to decide how you want to choose to live your life. And you always have a choice, no matter what life will present you with. The choice is yours how you deal with it.
Yeah. It reminds me a lot, and I laugh a little because I'm sure that you've probably seen this happen more times than you could admit. But it reminds me of the person who they know that they have a dentist appointment coming up in 6 months, right? And then all of a sudden, an hour before, they're like, I got to do a really good job of brushing my teeth, and I'm going to floss, I'm going to use some
Yeah,
mouthwash, I'm going to do a really good job of brushing my teeth. But that really intense effort half an hour before their appointment doesn't make up for not doing a good job for the past 6 months. You
exactly.
can't not brush your teeth, floss your teeth for 6 months straight, and then try and make up for it with some intensity, right, half an hour before your appointment. So would you say that it's like the very similar type of idea? Hey, it's that consistent everyday effort to just focus on, hey, if I do a little bit to really address whatever the situation is, whether it's grief, whether it's struggle, whether it's whatever, if you face it head on and say, hey, this is the thing that I'm dealing with, let me put a little bit of effort into it every day and just kind of keep moving forward, even if it feels like a small step. That small step every day makes a tremendous difference rather than waiting to the last effort when it's already a problem.
Exactly. And even 1% better, right? Give yourself your grace. There will be hard days. There'll be days you don't want to get up. There'll be days that just, it's life's not fair. And I will not discount any of those. And I'm totally validated in all those feelings. And I've been there, I've done those. But the next day, you need to get up. You need something, whether you have a family, you have kids, whether it's work, showing up for your colleagues, whether it's a pet you have, the dog needs to go out for a walk, whether it's going out running, like, okay, I need to clear my head. You find that something that keeps you going. You cannot be stuck.
Yeah. So when you do get stuck, what do you think the best path forward is, right? Because a lot of people are going to be feeling at some point stuck and lost, right? They don't know where to turn. They don't know what to do. I imagine sitting in that moment of grief, it almost feels like no matter what I do in this moment, I can't escape it. Like, how do you start to climb out of that? What is the next best step you'd recommend for somebody?
Well, I think a community helps, whether it is a community of family and friends, whether it is finding, like Alcohol Anonymous, for example, right? You don't want to drink, but you find the people and you decide we're going to hold out accountable to each other. So yes, either days you want to drink, or if you have Weight Watchers Club, I want to pick up that candy. But then there are people accountable for you. So same thing with grief, finding a grief community or finding your family and friends who know what it's like. Because a lot of times with grief, there will be people who say, "Oh, I'm really sorry for your loss." And then for them, life goes on, but they don't understand the impact that grief has had on you. And so creating or finding empathetic, not sympathetic, not who feel sorry for you, but empathetic, who understand your pain, and find that, I think, in community, or social people, we've always been in herds, and in herds of survival. If you are alone in your journey or alone in grief, it's danger. It's a downward spiral. So I think that finding that element, whatever it is, whether it's a running club, whether it's a book club, whether it's a grief group, whether it is just you go out for a walk, with anything that brings you together with other people, um, and somebody who you can call at 2 a.m. and be like, I'm having a bad day. Can you just come sit with me? And somebody who will be like, I'm there for you. Finding those people, I think, is the key. And if you don't have that, and if you're, maybe you're living away from your family, which I did, and people around me didn't understand because nobody knew my brother growing up, over the years. So I found that community. I channeled into grief groups and found people, whether it was just people online, like you and I are talking, but it's there and I'm validated and
Right.
it's understood. And having that power to say no to things, I think, when you're in that down moment, there have been plenty of those moments, and I've been invited to events. And you know what? I'm not in my right space. I don't come in with a good energy. And there's somebody celebrating a kid's birthday or wedding. And there is that power to say, you know what? I love you and I'm very happy for you. And it's great you're having this occasion. But you know what? I just need a few days to regroup, reground, whether, what it is, and say, no, I'm not going to put myself in that situation because I don't want to bring my negativity, my energy of down into your happiness. I'm happy for you and we'll celebrate another time. not at this time. And
Yeah.
be sure and accept, because if you are going in, you're having a bad day and you're showing up, you're not enjoying, they're not happy, you're just bringing negativity. So it's a lot of it is self work and grounding and meditating and learning to feel the emotions and learning to work with those emotions through those processes.
Yeah. Now, what do you think about the willingness to ask for help? To say, "Hey, I'm not, feeling 100%." Where you can go out and say, "Hey, maybe today is not the day that I come to that party."
Absolutely.
It it might be a struggle for some people. I think you don't want to disappoint other people, so you kind
Yeah.
of just put on a happy face and go there. But then, you're not giving it your best effort, and ultimately, you're now dragging down the people who are there.
Right. And
So
it is, you have to, because nobody will stand up for you if you don't stand up for yourself, no matter what. And I'll give you a prime example. It was my father-in-law's 80th birthday, and the whole family was there. My husband was there. And I looked at all the family gathering together, the grandkids, and I reflected back. I'm like, I will never have this. This will never happen for me. My dad's not going to turn 80. My dad's not going to have more than the grandkids I've given him, right? All those things that life should have given us hasn't, and it's nobody's fault. Nobody's to blame. And I looked at my husband. He saw me and he's like, "Are you okay?" I'm going to walk out of here. I'm going for a walk. And he's like, "I'll come with you." I'm like, "No, this is your family. This is your dad. You need to be here to celebrate. I will be back, but just give me time." And I walked away from the party to reflect, to cry, to just clear my head. I was gone for about an hour, hour and a half for a walk, just to clear myself and to come back to that space. Because there are times, but again, it's recognizing, yes, those emotions will come. Yes, there'll be events that you won't be able to say in, but you have to be strong somewhere for yourself, because no one is going to do it if you don't stand up for yourself and say, I need help. I need to walk away. I will be back. I'm not going anywhere. If I don't come back for 2 hours, then come find me. But I will be back. I just need
yeah,
to process. So, and absolutely. And that's the one thing, you have to ask for help. You have to, just like any sort of process that you go through, you have to first accept, yes, I'm in grief. Yes, I'm in mourning. How long does it take? I don't know. I'll be in mourning the rest of my life. Things are never going to be the same for me, or for my family. I accept that. I have, I'm grateful for the time that I have. Not everybody gets a great family. I did. Not get everybody gets the opportunities. I did, and I'm grateful. But I'm also going to grieve, and you have to speak up for yourself.
yeah. It's interesting too. You say there, not everyone gets these opportunities, and you did. Because I think it brings up a really interesting point. A lot of people struggle with is, you want to tell people, hey, be grateful for the things that you had that maybe other people didn't. And when you're struggling with a thing, and you say, hey, right now there's someone who is wishing that they had your struggle. Right? There's someone out there who's praying for the thing that you were taking for granted.
Yep.
And it's a valid point, right? So you should, yes, be grateful for the things you have, but it also, I think, diminishes your struggle at a certain point. And while I don't want anyone to sit in struggle, I think you can't undermine the fact that their struggle with whatever it is real to them, and you have to validate that to some degree.
Absolutely.
So, I think it's this delicate balance we walk where I don't know whether it's unintentional or whatever it is, but we want to compare struggles for some reason. Right? We want to feel like, hey,
Yeah.
my struggle is worse than yours, and somehow it validates us, makes us feel like our pain is valid, or we're supposed to be upset.
Right.
Do you see that same sort of thing?
Right. Everybody wants to be seen and heard and validated for what they're going through. What may seem small and insignificant to you may not be. And this comes to the concept of us as healers. while my brother is undergoing cancer and is, has all these aches and pains and chemo and radiation, here's a patient who's complaining because, the color of his tooth doesn't look and he wants to do whitening, or the bite's off and I'm having trouble eating. And I'm like, that's a minor pain compared to something major, right? But for them at that moment, that's a big deal. And you have to, yes, agree and solve what that patient or what that person's going through. You're great. It's very delicate balance, like you said, to not come out as being insensitive to what the other person is going through. However, um, also letting them know, be grateful for what you have. And I think there's this concept of going from grief to gratitude, going from this concept of this is a disaster. This is everybody in the world is blame. If I hadn't done this, this would have happened. The what ifs, right? But that doesn't happen with life. It is what it is. You cannot change the yesterday. You cannot go back, and you just have to kind of push forward and hope for a better tomorrow.
Yeah. I think it's a great point, and especially the concept of having community around to be there for you through those times. I think there's another part of that too that is a bit of a struggle for us is sometimes we forget that the people who are our community also struggle with stuff.
Hmm.
We could get into this spot, and I think it has a lot to do with healing the healers, right? Where you have these people in your life who you expect to be the person who solves all your problems, and you forget that they are going to have their own set of problems too. So, a lot of times we tend to maybe take for granted their availability to us and think, hey, they must not have anything else going on in the world but to help me deal with my problem, which is the most important problem in the world to me.
Yeah.
And I love how, the concept of healing the healer and being there for each other, I think it lends to the concept of community and teamwork, where it's not necessarily about, hey, I need all these things for me, but sort of when you are available and willing to be present for the people around you, they then can be present for you and sort of everybody wins. It's not this selfish environment where you're focused only on yourself, but you're really helping the people around you. And in turn, they're there to help heal you as well. Do I have
Exactly.
that right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Um, and there are times when you may have to be like, okay, this is an SOS call, but at times it's like, I'm something's around the corner and I know I'm going to have a bad day. Can we go out for a drink? Let's make a time, right? Or
Right.
let's go out for lunch or dinner or something. You're right. It's community who understands what you're going through. And, we are flawed. It's to err is human, right? And we live in a flawed world. Nothing is ever perfect. We have the Murphy's Law for a reason. So we do live in a flawed world. And as healers, we're also human. We're learning and growing. It's a practice of medicine, it's a practice of dentistry. And we make mistakes. We may have a bad day. Um, so, giving that grace to each other in that sense of being kind, like you said, you don't know the struggles people are having behind closed doors. You don't know the struggles they're having in their own personal lives, their minds, the demons they're fighting. You just don't. And so, giving each other that little bit of grace, giving each other a little bit of kindness, and having each other to rely on really helps.
Yeah. I love too the concept of healing and, uh, where there is some pain implied in that, and it's not necessarily that you're just going to give somebody some Tylenol or some Advil and let the pain go away,
It won't.
but you're going to have to go through the process of fixing the actual original problem, which is not necessarily pain free, right? There could be some agitation. Hey, when you need to fix a cavity, what's the first thing you got to do? You got to drill it out. You got to, you're going to inflict a
Get
little
a
bit more pain. You're going to dig a little deeper to get around the root there, or
first the
whatever. I'm no
injection,
dentist, but
first the
right,
anesthesia. That's
like,
painful.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes. There's some work involved in getting to. the
Yes,
root of the issue. It's not necessarily just, hey, let's put a Band-Aid on it and then, hey, problem solved. You've got to dig a little deeper, right? Do you see it the
you
same
have
way?
to. Yeah, you have to find that root cause. You're right. You can't put a band-aid on it because it's not going to heal and it's going to just scab over and then you're going to just peel on it all the time and it's going to keep hurting. So
Yeah.
healing comes from first acknowledging what it is that you are healing from, validating it, and then and it doesn't take like, it's not ever going to be a quick fix. When somebody is going through grieving, like they lost somebody a year ago, 6 months ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, doesn't matter. Time is a human construct. It doesn't matter. It'll feel like yesterday. So you can't tell anybody that, oh, it's going to take you a few years to get over it. You don't ever get over it. You don't always complete you're still going to have a little scar tissue, but you don't want it to be scabbing and reinfecting all the time. It's just a reminder of, yes, that it happened. Yes, it existed. The heart knows, that love, that desire. So it's and you have to work at it. You have to. It doesn't happen automatically. It didn't take me 2 days to get to where I was having panic attacks, where I was having anxiety because I was scared of what tomorrow would bring, because now the future is unpredictable. It's not like the sun's going to shine and I can pick up the phone and call my brother. I can call my dad. All those things are gone. So it took years of work, whether therapy, meditation, working out, community. But you find that thing, and for me, it was writing, finishing the book, writing for other magazines, and then being vocal about the process of grief, sharing.
Yeah, I love that. And it's one of the most beautiful ways that I've ever heard it described, because a lot of people say time heals all wounds, right? And it's not necessarily true that time heals all wounds. What it does is it allows us to build perspective around it, but it doesn't remove the original wound. So the best way I've ever heard it described to me was, imagine taking a coin and putting it over your eye. So right now you have the coin, and when you look out of your eye, all you can see is the coin because it's so close to you and it's so present that it's literally all you can see. And what time does is it allows you to take that coin and slowly move it further and further away from your eye, where the coin doesn't necessarily change, but its size in perspective to everything else that you're now able to see, it allows it to take up less space in your vision, right? So these things that we deal with on the course of our lives, they don't necessarily go away. It just, now this coin starts to go further and further away from your eye, where it's still present, it's still there, it's still a thing that you're aware of,
Right.
right? But now you have additional perspective to see because you can see more. And I think just the understanding that it's never going to necessarily go away, right? It's not this thing that someone can solve. I can't solve it for you. You can't solve it for me. But we can share perspective. We can be there to support each other through the process and allow time to pass where we can start to gain perspective and figure out ways to cope with it, to learn, hey, what is the good that can come from this, right? So now you were able to go through all of those things and get some perspective. And now, hey, here you are helping other people to now see the good that came from these situations. It doesn't necessarily make losing your brother or losing your dad a good thing.
No.
But what it does, it allows you to see, hey, what are the positives that are still here that I could take from this, where I'm not looking at only the negatives? Where can I see the blessing, the lesson that I learned from this, and use that to help me enjoy the rest of my life and find the good, not just sit here and feel sorry for myself.
Yeah, because that doesn't achieve anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But
it is
people find themselves stuck there all the time.
right. And when you spread the good, it comes back to you, and in different ways.
Yeah. And it's very true. And I think it's definitely hard to see in the moment, right? We want a very transactional experience where we want to be able to almost like ordering good from Amazon.
Yeah,
We want to be able to say, hey, here's my credit card. Let me feel good tomorrow.
yeah,
But it doesn't work like that. It's almost like going to the gym and lifting weights, you don't necessarily see the results right away.
Yep.
But if you stay consistent with it for the course of, a couple months, then you'll start to see a little bit of result come in. And that's when it starts to feel a little bit better, because you can actually feel the difference.
Right. And I think you hit the nail on the head with this. We have this, I'm quite a bit older. I didn't grow up with internet. I'm, in my mid 40s. So I know what it's like to, dial up internet, the phones where you had to ring, you can just press
Yep.
buttons. So we now live in this instant world. You want the thing that's going to get delivered by Instacart tomorrow or by Amazon, or you need a date. Well, there's your Tinder. You need anything, it's available in your fingertips. Any information, I would sit there and have to look through encyclopedia. Now I can just Google
Go
it
to
in
the library.
seconds. In library, there's
Yeah.
microfilms to Google, look up old newspaper articles and do research paper. I mean, oh my goodness. um, but we grew up in that kind of world where there was no instant gratification. We had to work for it, and then when you got the reward, it was like, yay. you know and unfortunately, today's world is flawed in that way. The instant gratification, um, the perfect filter through which world is seen as lens. I mean, I remember having to take photographs with a film and then wait for the week, and then, oh, which click came out good or which were crap.
Right.
So that was very exciting. Oh my God, we're going to go pick up our photographs. And we've gone from that to this very disconnected. Yes, we're more connected, but in some ways we're a little disconnected. We're not going shopping and looking at items and talking to the sales guy or finding out what's the best produce. We're just clicking buttons, and there is a disconnect. Um, and we pretend that everything is hunky dory, and we went on this fantastic trip and here are all these beautiful pictures, but you're not seeing probably it took forever to get there, and they had something happen, or they maxed out their credit card to take this trip, and you have to present this image.
Right.
So it's walking away a little bit away from that when you go through this process of grief that's not going to happen instantaneously. All your Facebook friends and all your likes and all your posts on Instagram, no matter how many followers you have, that's not validation. Validation is getting it from, yes, you have a few good friends that you can count on who'll support you through this journey. And that's where you feel like, yeah, even though what can may be, I have a backing, I have that family, I have that friend, I have even one person who understands you and walks alongside you this process. And you're right, everybody's fighting their own battles, but being there for each other. One day it's you having a bad day, one day it's the other person, and you're there for each
Yeah.
other.
It's very true. And it's this may be a weird analogy, but as we're sitting here, it makes me think about all these paints behind me. A variety of different colors. Which one's the best one? Depends on what you're doing,
Yep.
right? So, I think if we started to look at the relationships we build, not necessarily in terms of, hey, what can this person do for me? But if we just focus on, hey, how can I pour into this person? And what is their unique gifting? What is amazing about that person, and sharing that with them? It gives us this beautiful life where now we have all of these people around us who, hey, at a certain point in time, you might need the person who has X, Y, and Z gift, whatever it might be. But if you start to build these relationships, then later on, you're going to have them available to you to be able to build a better life yourself, right? And that's where we get into that, a rising tide lifts all boats scenario. But it takes us having these relationships and pouring into each other and being there for each other,
Right.
celebrating our uniqueness, what's special about each person. I love that.
Yeah. And where you can support them if they need you. It's never
Yeah.
a one-way street.
Yeah. Well, I think that's probably the most important part, is being willing to go first.
Yeah.
Being willing to be the person who says, hey, let me be there to support you and to show up for you.
And
You could say most of us are struggling with something.
yes, all of us are.
Even you and I, who sit here and have a conversation about telling other people how to help themselves, you and I have our own struggles, right? We're not you know,
We're flawed.
yeah,
There are bad days, and it's
yeah, of course.
okay. And I think that comes from being vulnerable, like you said. Like there's a beauty in it, because if you show your vulnerability, then it's okay for somebody else to say, "Yeah, you know what? Me too."
Yeah. It makes me think about this quote I heard the other day that said, going on a journey and returning back to where you left from is not the same as never having left.
It's true.
And what it makes me think about is, a lot of us try and protect everything and keep it pristine because we work so hard for whatever it is. And we're afraid if, your nice fancy car that you got a little scratch on it. But what winds up happening is if we don't actually go out there and use the life that we've been given to us and enjoy the life we've been given to us, yeah, we're going to get some scratches along the way. Yeah, there's going to be some dirt and debris that gets built up. But that's the beauty. That's the story of our lives.
Right.
Right?
You know
There's
what?
no utility in staying safe all the time and not having gone on the journey. And yeah, you might protect yourself from ever feeling any harm, but have you lived?
Right. And you know what? That car can get cleaned. That
Yeah.
scratch can get buffed. You can heal. You can come back. But what if you never took that trip?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love that. Well, I want to thank you for this conversation. It has been inspiring,
Thank
and
you.
I know for me it's been helpful to really put some things in perspective. So I do trust that the person listening to this right now will have that same experience. And again, I just want to honor you for doing what you do and not settling in, feeling bad for yourself, but finding a way to use that to help other people move forward as well. So thank you. I truly appreciate it.
No, thank you. I appreciate you having me. I'm going to take a quick picture, if you don't mind.
Yeah, let's do
I
it.
wanted to be on, yeah. Yeah. Hold on. Awesome.
That's good.
Well,
So where can we best support you and follow you from here?
I'm on Instagram at DUA Good Job. Dua is my maiden name, and it's a pun of my name. And also my website, duagoodjob.com. So I have
I love
information
it.
there on for healers, for grief coaching, as well as for oral cancer, because you know I'm a dentist, and my brother was a dentist, and we couldn't save him. But that doesn't mean that we can't save others. So
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. I'll be sure to add that into the show notes and make sure that everyone has that information available to them. Um, any information we should know on that topic? Pay attention to? Should we get screened? Like, is there a
absolutely.
real cursory information we should pay attention to?
So for oral cancer, the biggest thing is if something in your mouth hasn't healed within 2 weeks, whether it hurts or doesn't, you should be evaluated. You could have a sore, you could have a herpetic lesion, you could have, bit your cheek, burnt your tongue. Should heal within 2 weeks. Of course, there are certain risk factors: people who vape, smoke, alcohol. There is the HPV, which is the human papillomavirus. Being out in the sun, sun exposure, just like it causes skin cancer, can cause lip cancer, and which is part of the oral cancer world. So protecting, lip balm, try not to smoke, vape, all that good stuff. But going to the dentist, getting checked out, make sure you're getting screened. They don't use any fancy tools. They're feeling and looking for any nodes. But if you have any trouble swallowing, especially anything that's like unilateral, like one side of your head and neck area, then that's something of a concern. So yeah, just being vigilant about it.
I like that. So you're saying if your tooth hurts, you shouldn't just ignore it and hope it goes away on its own?
No, teeth down. Then if a tooth's hurting, you're either doing a root canal or you're getting it out. Because the tooth, the nerve is in the center. So when you get a cavity, it doesn't hurt. When your dentist tells you, yeah, it's not hurting. What do you mean I have a cavity? Well, if it becomes bigger, tooth doesn't self heal like a skin. You get a cut. As it progresses, then it hurts when it's in the nerve chamber, and that's when you're looking at bigger,
Yeah.
more expensive
And I
treatment.
think if this conversation has taught us anything, ignoring it won't make it go away.
No, no. And same thing with grief. Ignoring your grief doesn't make it go away. You have to heal. And it begins with you acknowledging yeah, my tooth's hurting. I gotta go.
Yeah,
Yeah, my grief is there. I gotta get help.
good. I love that. And I love the way that we tie that together. So again, thank you. It's been tremendous.
Thanks, Jim.
You're welcome. Hey, before you go, can I pray for you real quick? Dear Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for this day you've given us, for this opportunity to sit together and listen to this podcast together with our dear guest. I want to thank you for our guest and thank you for giving us the time, the energy, the heart, the wisdom to share what we've shared today. And I ask that you continue to show up in the lives of our guests and the lives of our listeners and help them to heal, to feel seen and heard, to process the emotions that they're going through, to understand that what might be painful right now, what might be misunderstood right now, whatever struggle that they're going with, whatever grief that they're going through, that they understand that there is promise on the other side of it. And that so long as we stick together, as long as we have community and tribe and faith, that everything will work out for good in the end. And I ask all these things in your name. Amen. I love you.